Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm Dolly McCarthy. Welcome to the first Candidates Forum for City Council, sponsored by the Rotary Club of Naperville. This is the first time the Rotary Club has sponsored this Candidates Forum, so before we get into the program tonight, I want to introduce you to the Naperville Rotary Club's President, John Gallagher. And John, would you tell us why you decided to sponsor this event?
Thanks, Dolly. The Rotary Club has been in Naperville since 1941, and this year we'll be celebrating our 75th year commitment to community service in Naperville. Our focus has always been how to benefit our community, whether it's through giving out over $200,000 in scholarships to the college-bound students, or in the last 7 years, $700,000 for important community assets, as Loaves and Fishes, Hesed House, and DuPage Pads. In addition, you'll find Rotarians in our club working overseas in such places as Nigeria, Kenya, India, Honduras, Haiti, improving water, sanitation, and education at all levels, and eradicating polio in our world. You may know that we are down to only 2 countries that still have active polio cases. We are literally this close from eradicating polio from the world. While Rotary is a non-political and non-religious service organization, we are open to all who wish to serve the community and the world. Our local theme is leadership development through community service. It's with that in mind that we felt compelled to bring you these candidate forums. We recognize the significant investment every candidate is making in our community. We feel that you needed a vehicle to speak to the public. These are unusual times for Naperville and for the council and mayoral races. With the last election, the people of Naperville rejected the alderman format for city council and returned to a council elected at large. With that change, all 8 council positions will stand for election. 19 candidates are vying for those positions on this coming election on April 7th. Because so many people are running, and because this is an important election for our community, Naperville, the Rotary Club of Naperville is sponsoring 3 forums over the next 3 days. By doing it this way, we will be able to provide an opportunity for all the candidates to communicate their positions in a meaningful way. We want to thank you for joining us in this time-honored American tradition and hope that you find this evening valuable, you, the electorate, to decide the future of our city. Dolly, let's begin.
All right, John, thank you. All right, here are the rules for tonight's forum. The Rotary Club has generated 7 questions for the candidates touching on aspects of governing in Naperville. In addition, we have asked a few personal questions. Every question was shared with the candidates a week ago, and depending upon the question, they will have between 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes to answer each question. Our timekeeper is Rachel Osira, and she has a series of cards that will let the candidates know how much time they have remaining. If they run over their time, she will ring a bell to signify that time has run out, and we'll continue to ring it until the candidate stops speaking. Okay. Now I'd like to introduce the candidates for tonight's forum. On the end, we'll start with Judith Broadhead, John Coletti, Kevin Coyne, Bill Egan, Dick Furstenau, Paul Hinterlong, and Stephen Brodusky. All right. I want to thank you all for coming and participating in tonight's forum. The way we will do this is as follows. I'll ask a question, and we will then start at the end with Judith and go in alphabetical order. All right, as I said earlier, Rachel, our timekeeper, will track the times allowed for the questions and offer cards to help the candidates track down the time. She will ring the bell at the end of each question or question's answer, and she will not stop until you stop. All right, let's begin with the first question. You have up to 2 minutes to answer our first question. We'll start with Judith Broadhead. Why are you running for the office? Why are you running for office in Naperville?
Thanks, and thank you to the Rotary for holding this forum this evening. As they mentioned, my name is Judy Broadhead. I'm here this evening to ask for your vote for the Naperville City Council. I've spent the last 6 years on the council working with my fellow council members to ensure that we continue to have the quality of life in this city that we have come to value and expect. I think I have a lot to contribute, and I prepared for many years before gaining office. I'm an English professor, mother of 3. I've been married to my husband, Gary Smith, for 43 years. And I've also lived all over the country. In comparison to the suburbs of San Diego and New York City, Washington, D.C., I found Naperville especially welcoming, and I plunged into the world of volunteer boards pretty quickly. I feel as though I've been preparing for, perhaps more than 20 years, and I don't think there's anybody with more experience on volunteer boards and commissions running right now. 16 years of experience before I made it to office. Many of those years on the Plan Commission saw enormous growth as our population quickly increased from 85,000 to what is now about 145,000 people. During those years in the 90s, from 1991 up through January of 2002, week after week, we saw proposals for developments of huge tracts of houses as well as businesses. I learned quickly that commercial and retail growth has to balance that residential growth, and that property taxes will skyrocket otherwise. I've worked very cooperatively with my fellow council people, and I'm now on a number of boards and commissions that are only available to council members, like Naperville Development Partnership, Riverwalk Commission, and a number of others, and I hope to get your vote.
John Coletti.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity, Rotary Club. I am running for City Council because I want to serve the community. I heard and read in a newspaper that the current budget was unbalanced. I looked online and saw a 5-year deficit totaling almost $70 million. With my background being a CPA, having an accounting degree from DePaul University, a master's in finance from Northwestern, as well as running my own business with a partner for 20 years at the Chicago Board Options Exchange, I thought I could lend a different perspective to the council. In the community, I've been elected to Naperville Little League's board, local soccer club's board as treasurer. I've served 7 years on an athletic association, 5 years as treasurer at St. Peter and Paul. I'm married, have 4 children, been married for 32 years. I started coaching in Naperville in 1994. I think I moved here in 1993. I've been active in the community with a variety of the sports programs here. As a member of the Chicago Board Option Exchange, was appointed to a number of committees, including chairing a product development committee. Had been down there, like I said, for almost 20 years, but in 2012, I semi-retired and accepted a position at North Central College where I'm an adjunct professor. I'm instructing managerial accounting, economics, finance, both at the undergrad and graduate level. That gives me the time, and I already have the energy to hopefully do a successful job of helping provide this new perspective to the council and being a good team member and a leader when appropriate. Thank you.
Kevin Coyne.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Kevin Coyne, and running for City Council, and I'm running because I love the city. This is an important race, a critical one, and I believe I'll be able to serve the city very well as a city councilman. This is a historic time for our town. We're going to leave this election cycle with a new mayor. At least half the city council is going to turn over. And aside from that, we've had pretty key city positions turn over of late. We have a new finance director, we have a new legal director, we have a number of new faces within our planning staff. It's going to be imperative if Naperville is going to remain as a high caliber city that we have qualified people get elected that are ready to serve on day one, and I believe that I am. I offer 8 years of experience serving on city commissions, currently the last 4 on the Naperville Planning and Zoning Commission, which historically is the way a number of the Naperville City Councilmen have gotten started learning the city, learning development, learning how the town works, including a couple of incumbents that are up here tonight got their start on the Plan Commission. I also offer very sophisticated legal experience. I'm currently a partner in the Naperville law firm Nyberg and Cassiope, so I'm adept and ready to work with city staff on complex legal matters. And then maybe most pertinent to this crowd is I've been very active in the Naperville not-for-profit community. I currently serve on the board of the Naperville Chamber of Commerce, longtime Naperville JC and former executive director of the Naperville Last Fling. And I've demonstrated a willingness to be very active, giving of my time to the community. And I think that that's expected and demanded of people who kind of move up the ranks in this town, is that we do have a very dynamic, active citizenry. In summary, I know what I'm getting into by seeking this job. I'm ready and qualified to serve the day that I'm elected, and I hope to have your vote and support. Again, my name is Kevin Coyne. Look for me number 1 on the ballot. Thank you.
Bill Egan.
Evening. Thank you for putting on this forum. The main reason I'm running is to make a difference, right? I've got a couple kids that are growing up in this town. We moved here for a very specific reason, the set of ideals, what this town stands for in community. You have to simply look around us to see the different things that have been brought up, the river walk. You go and touch the amenities. That's community, looking out down the future for what we're all want. Specifically, I bring a unique skill set in my mind. I'm a CPA and as well as a CMA. I'm an adjunct teacher at Harper College, so I teach accounting. I worked for Kraft for 8 years. My last job, the last 2 years of that, was the plant controller right here in Naperville. So I understand what it's like to be a business and work within the community. We were, I think it was number 3, we're certainly top 5 electric consumer there. So a big influence and a lot of taxes paid from that single plant. I'm also the CFO for a high school district, so I understand what it's like to sit on the other side of the table as a staff member. So bringing all of that together, as well as being an elected official on the park commission, or as a park commissioner, I don't know that any other candidate is going to be able to bring that skill set to the table and use those skills to hopefully better the city. Thank you.
Dick Furstenau.
Thank you, and thank you for having this forum tonight. My name is Dick Furstenau. I've been a 12-year councilman in the past, served for 12 years. I moved to town with my 5 kids in 1977. They all attended and went through all the Naperville schools at Naperville North and Jefferson and Mill Street. I have 13 grandchildren who don't all live in the area, but we're all close enough that we get together. I was just with them a few minutes before I got here tonight. I've also worked in this community, and the reason that I want to run again for the city council is because I believe I still have something to offer the community. I believe that experience is going to count more than ever going forward with the budget that we've got and the problems that we have. I was on the city council when we had a deficit and the depression. We didn't have a deficit, we had a semi-depression. The Great Recession, and we came out of that in the year after the last budget that I helped put together. We had a very large surplus in this city. We don't have that 3 years later. We have a deficit that we're working on. I have an MBA. I've coached kids in this town, football and baseball, for 17 and 12 years, respectively. I was on the Junior Achievement before I even got to this town for 17 years before I got here, and then served another number of years on the Junior Achievement. I was an advisor, and then I was a director. So I know the town well. I've been on 17 or 18 different boards and commissions. I'm currently serving on the Water Commission, and we've got some good news coming from the Water Commission, so stay tuned. I've given my whole life to this town, and I plan on giving some more if you folks would find it in your heart to elect me. Not my email address, but my website is firstfornaperville.com, FURST for Naperville.com. Thank you.
Paul Hinterlong.
Well, first of all, thank you, Rotary, for putting on this forum tonight. There's a lot of candidates here, and it's a great opportunity for you to find out more about us. So kudos to you guys for putting this on tonight. Being born and raised here in Naperville, I wish to continue my love of giving back to the community in which my family's lived 8 generations. For the past 20 years, I've supported my community on dozens of boards and commissions, including Crime Stoppers Board, Citizens Appreciate Public Safety Board, past president of my homeowners association, past board member of the Naperville Area Homeowners Confederation. I'm a past planning and zoning commissioner where I spent 4 years, and the last 6 years as your current city councilman. As you all know, we have at least a 50% turnover on the city council, and I feel it's very important that someone with my experience continues to ensure the quality of life and amenities and superior services that we have. We need leaders to take us into the future, and I feel that I can continue to lead us in the right direction going forward. Thank you.
Stephen Produsky.
Thank you, Dolly, and the Rotary Club. This is indeed a great public service that the Rotary Club is providing. We don't often have this opportunity. Well, I wasn't born in Naperville, and I didn't grow up here, but I have lived here for almost 36 years. And so I've spent my entire adult life in Naperville. When I first got here, we had a community of about 35,000 people, and I've seen it grown to a community of 144,000 people with more square miles than I ever thought I would see in Naperville. I'm running for office to provide the experience I've gained over those 36 years in business and technology and the passion that I have for this community to help in those we have a critical transition years with no areas left to grow in Naperville. We have to shift from one mode of running the city to a different mode. My background, as I mentioned, is in technology and business, having multiple degrees in both, and experience with both private and public boards. And I have started homeowners associations in my own neighborhood, representing my own neighbors and representing them in front of City Council. And I believe I have the background and experience to share with the city of Naperville and all the citizens. Thank you.
Okay, second question. You will have a minute and a half to answer this question. And again, we'll start with Judith Broadhead. Since renewable energy and recycling have been a major effort over the past 20 years in Naperville, what are your thoughts about renewable energy and its role in the future of Naperville?
Yes, of course. Renewable energy and recycling have been major efforts in Naperville for the past 20 years. I hope everybody is enjoying the new blue plastic carts for recycling. We did that to divert more of the waste stream into recycling rather than to garbage. And the literature shows that the larger the cart you have, the more recycling you do, although we gave everybody a choice, and we hope that's working out well. The hazardous waste facility, which we got a state grant of $900,000 for, is having its ribbon cutting on this Friday, and that will make other kinds of recycling much easier for our residents and people in Northern Illinois. Our website will tell you that more than 3,800 residents voluntarily contribute toward their energy bills in order to support wind energy, and that saves 14 million kilowatts of Illinois renewable energy. It supports the development of 14 million kilowatts of Illinois renewable electricity annually. So I think that says a lot for our residents and says it's something that they are tremendously interested in. And I know that we have found that through our NCEC GHG study, we have found that our carbon dioxide equivalent, CO2e, showed a downward trend from 2005 to 2013.
Okay, John Coletti.
Hello. One of the suggestions that I would have would be to have the Park District, along with the Naperville Partnership, Development Partnership and Planning and Zoning Committee, work with area architects, builders, and developers, possibly bringing them over to the Knock Knolls Nature Center and showing them our LEEDs or Platinum awarded facility to maybe foster and facilitate generation of new ideas for future developments when they go forward. Things that have already been initiated, like continuing to improve the bike paths, I think encourage more commuter use, reducing auto traffic slightly. Expansion of CNG or compressed natural gas and electric vehicles in the city's fleet, I think, is a good idea that's already started. New endeavors, including the EcoSmart ambulance that the fire department recently put in, is another initiative, as well as the solar panels at Nike Park or the rain cistern at Knock Knolls are all good examples of what the city's already done. I also support the initiative to bring in engineers to study the traffic flow in Naperville, especially north and south, possibly improving the timing of lights. The other thing is, I think I would support a variable pricing instead of the customer flat fees that are on our utilities to encourage more conservative use of electricity and make it easier for our people living on fixed income or new families to afford the electric and utility rates. And I think that would help conservation. Thank you.
Kevin Coyne?
Great, thank you. I'm the father of a 5-year-old, and I want my daughter and all the kids in town to grow up in a Naperville that's safe and environmentally clean. On the legal end, I've dealt with environmental issues fairly regularly as part of my legal practice. I've completed advanced coursework in the area of environmental law. And in my opinion, renewable energy is going to be critical to managing pollution for all communities, not just Naperville, moving forward. Wind and solar energy in particular are hugely important. So I support the Naperville Renewable Energy Program. I think it's been great. It's been award-winning. I would say that I'd like to see it better promoted. I deal with businesses often. I represent people buying homes every day, and it's fairly rare that I have somebody bring up the program. So I would like to see it better promoted. I'd like to keep this issue in the forefront and see Naperville be a leader in the area of renewable energy and wind and solar. So in summary, as a councilman, I'll support this program. I'll fight to better promote it, and I look forward to working with everyone to build a environmentally safe and clean Naperville for the future generations. Thank you.
Bill Egan?
Thank you. Renewable energy is important, certainly. I think government's role, the city's role, should be helping the citizens identify those uses that are most cost-effective for us here. So, for example, in the school district, we put up solar panels, spent $30,000, $40,000. They've been up almost a year now, and we've saved $295 worth of electricity. So, as a matter of personal choice, that's one thing. But things like geothermal are probably more effective in our area. We don't get sunshine like Arizona does here. So, helping people find what are those things that they can do to conserve. And putting that out there so that they can understand, where do I get the bang for my buck? I think that would be government's most appropriate role.
Dick Furstenau?
Thank you. I want to go back to my opening statement for a minute because I forgot one very important thing, and that is on August the 27th, my good wife and I will have been married for 50 years. That goes back a ways, and I would be remiss, and she would get excited if I hadn't said that tonight. So let's go on to renewable energy, shall we? When I was on the city council 4 years ago, and during that last 4 years I was there, I was constantly on budget time and during the year talking about putting our trucks on natural gas. We need to get our trucks onto natural gas so we can cut the gas bill of the city. You almost cut the goofy thing in half. It's unbelievable, the amount of money that you will save. Well, they finally got a little religion, and they're starting to do that now at City Hall. And if I had my way, I'd have every truck in town on natural gas that would work on natural gas and do the job that it's supposed to do. I think the other thing that we need to do with our fleet, too, is we need to start looking at electrical energy for the car fleet in town. That, again, will save a ton of gasoline, which helps the budget tremendously. I'm not a person who believes in government subsidies for all of these different kinds of fuels. If you want that, you need to talk to the federal government. They're passing it out like it was water. We don't have the money here, nor the time, nor the inclination, nor the manpower to do that. Thank you.
Paul Hinterlong?
Naperville's renewable energy program is now in its 11th year of letting residential and commercial utility customers purchase wind and solar energy to help create a safer environment for all. The Naperville Renewable Energy Program supports the development of renewable energy projects in Illinois. Joining the program is one of the easiest, most effective ways for Naperville residents to reduce their environmental impact. Clean energy is purchased from wind farms in Illinois, and solar energy is purchased and sourced in Illinois as well, including the northern part of the state, making this program one that benefits the local region. More than 3,800 Naperville residents, including myself, and businesses enrolled in the program can collectively supporting the development and more than 14 million kilowatt hours of Illinois renewable energy annually. The program has had an environmental impact equivalent to removing 3,200 cars from the road and growing more than 426,000 trees per decade. As a councilman, I'll continue to have renewable energy as one of my priorities going forward into the future. An example would be our compressed natural gas program and having renewable energy and for our RFPs to demand renewable energy alternatives where possible in our contracts. Thank you.
Stephen Produsky.
Well, the recycling program that we've had in Naperville has been an outstanding program, and I applaud the previous city councils for the work that they have put into it. On the subject of renewable energy, while it's an important thing for us to continue to pursue, the practicality of the matter is that we cannot make a significant dent in our overall energy needs with renewable energy, with photovoltaics or with wind energy. I do support the programs that we have to allow the purchase of those by residents, but I think that we need to have better programs which are address environmental sustainability. Those programs cover the three legs of the environment, needs of society, and the economics of whatever energy form that we're doing, and that would include the use of natural gas, the use of other types of fuels, and the other types of electrical generation. So it's much more a matter of just sustainable energy. It's a matter of looking at the entire program and putting a comprehensive program together, and that's what I will support.
Okay, our third question has been on the minds of many Napervillians. You'll have a minute and a half to answer this one. What are your thoughts about the SECA program, your suggestions on how the program should be changed, or how the money should be distributed?
Okay, well, why do people come to Naperville? We know why they come here to live. They come for the great schools, the great parks, the great town. But why do they come here as visitors? They don't come to see the office parks or high-rises. They come to shop. They come to eat at our many wonderful restaurants. They come to walk the Riverwalk, to go to a concert or a festival. They come for the experience. And that's what SECA does. It supports, for the most part, those experiences Napervillians and visitors value. I like to describe it as an ecological system. Come to Naperville for perhaps a band concert. On the way home, maybe you stop for ice cream on Jefferson Street. Notice the other wonderful restaurants and stores. Perhaps wander all the way to the Riverwalk. Your family will think, I want to come back here. They have Rib Fest, they have Last Fling, they have an Apple store. Okay, but my thoughts on the SECA program and whether or not it should be changed. I think they do a great job. They just met yesterday and made recommendations. I took a quick look at those today. And I think perhaps it's time to look at some of the structural costs built into that and see if perhaps those should be moved to a different part of the budget. They may be eating up a little bit too much of that right now.
John Coletti.
Hello. The primary objective of giving monies to not-for-profit through the SECA funding is to encourage celebrations of the diversity, character, and heritage of our town. And I think that mission is a good one. What I do believe is that we should ensure that all members of the Advisory Cultural Committee are Naperville residents. We should make sure that the local vendors are patronized by the not-for-profit entities that we're giving money to, which is one of the current guidelines. We should objectively measure that each year before we allocate additional funds to any not-for-profit entity requesting money. Additionally, to go a step further, we should have a matrix involved that requires an objective look at the goals and objectives of each group requesting and being allocated money. Just because we have the money, we shouldn't allocate it unless there's deserving groups that are meeting the objectives and supporting our community. The amenities that they're doing, the activities that they're doing are great for the most part. What I would be against is all creating multi-year agreements because we already have a situation where the DuPage Children's Museum may not be around In Naperville, when we're finishing off in 2030, paying off the 4% note at 150 grand a year, which is coming out of the SECA funds. Thank you.
Kevin Coyne?
Great, thank you. When I think of Naperville, I think about our dynamic not-for-profit community. I can't imagine there is a city anywhere that has more high-quality and charities and vast array of charities. And I think SECA's played a very large role to that part of our town. I do believe that it's played a larger part than I think was originally contemplated when it was put together, both in terms of the dollars collected and the number of recipients that are benefiting from SECA and the food and beverage tax. I would like to see SECA become far more focused and concentrated. I'd like to see SECA focused on community initiatives that clearly carry significant economic impact and are saving residents' tax dollars. I fully support the continued support of SECA and our large summer events in particular, of which I know Bill's been pretty active in. But again, I'd like to see the scale of the program tailored back. So again, I'd like to see the tax resources focused and limited to only those organizations that are clearly creating economic impact and inspiring economic development. Thank you.
Bill Egan?
Thank you. SECA, the gift that keeps on giving. You get to a crossroads, and as Kevin alluded to, I'm involved or belong to 3 organizations that currently receive SECA funds. I ran the last one in 2013. It also receives SECA funds. Good things are being done with those dollars. But at the end of the day, you've got to look at what's going on in the city. What are people coming for? People don't necessarily see that SECA tax when they're eating downtown, right? And my personal view is, much like I teach ethics, that you can't put it on the front page of the paper, you put it on a billboard. If we can't put up a billboard that says, dine in downtown Naperville, we'll tax you for it, we got to take a hard look at that. I would certainly be looking at reducing that, and if the council didn't see fit with that, I would certainly be supporting looking at allocating some of those SECA dollars to reduce our IMRF unfunded pension liability. That pension liability gets hit with a 7.5% penalty every year that it sits out there. So at our current liability, we're going to have $2 million tacked onto the credit card bill, and that'll get spread over many years. So we've got some issues, we got some debt issues. If we're going to hold on to those funds, let's allocate those to providing some relief to our citizens.
Dick Furstenau?
Thank you. Talking about SECA funds, let me tell you, I was on the city council for 12 years. I was there when it was passed. I voted no. I voted no because I said in the future it's going to raise too much money and we're just going to have a big money grab. You know what? It's kind of turned into that. I was over there yesterday and watched what went on yesterday, and I was kind of surprised because in 4 years it's changed quite a bit. At one time, when it first got started, the councilmen were the ones who worked through the funding and determined who was going to get the money, and we pretty much made sure that it stayed in town. That's not going on now. And the councilmen were not supposed to be involved, but I see a councilman sitting on the board there. I couldn't understand that at all. And I come to find out it's been going on for about 3 years. I wouldn't put up with that for 5 minutes. If the council's either going to be in it or they're going to be out of it. Not one guy sitting on that board over there as a councilman. That's incorrect, it's wrong, and it's not fair to the people who know him and to the other councilmen. I also was the guy who suggested, as we started raising too much money, that we take some of that money and put it into the general fund. And that's what we're doing right now. And I would suggest that at least half of that money goes into the general fund every year. Some of it's going for pensions. Some of it went right into the general fund. Initially, I just wanted to put it into the general fund. And between the 9 of us, we worked it out that that's what happened. It was kind of a convoluted vote, but it happened. So there's where I am on the SECA fund.
Paul Hinterlong?
The SECA Fund program in Naperville has a great impact in Naperville. It has funded such things as providing public safety, public art, capital improvements, arts and cultural events, and even debt reductions. It has proven to be very beneficial to various nonprofit organizations that receive it. The City of Naperville encourages celebrations of community and cultural opportunities that focus on heritage, diversity, and the character of the city. However, all qualified applicants should be for non-profit organizations that reside in Naperville or support the Naperville events. Typically, over 80 applicants apply each year for funding. The downside of that is there isn't enough money to go around. Some fairness needs to come about, or some more applicants can get their fair share. It seems that newer applicants have a harder time getting funding because there are so many repeat applicants that seem to have more priority for funding. This needs to be addressed going forward. It's very difficult for new organizations to get any funding when we get so many, and so many repeat ones keep coming back. Years ago, we tried to instill in people's mind that this is more of like a seed money type of thing for your events, you know, to get you going so you can have the funds later and you won't have to need us anymore. That is really become a problem. So we need to give other people a chance. Thank you.
Stephen Produsky.
As CEQA was initially envisioned, it's a great idea. We put a small tax on amenities in downtown that provide for cultural activities, cultural events that draw more people downtown. Now, I wouldn't be opposed to putting it on a billboard that you're being taxed 1% for your dining and your entertainment pleasures downtown. I don't think that would reduce the number of patrons in our downtown establishments, and I think it's appropriate that that money goes back into Naperville and is used to attract more people. And I also do agree with the fact that 25% is used to help reduce pension liabilities and goes into the general fund. But we need to keep it back to its original intent and make sure our oversight from the City Council is thorough and we keep watch over it.
Okay, our next question, you have a minute and a half to answer this one. Naperville has a serious problem with traffic. We all know that, especially moving north and south in almost every area of the community. What are your thoughts and plans to address this issue? Judith Broadhead.
Thank you. Traffic, the perennial issue. And I'm happy to report that for once there has been some real progress made on north-south routes. I'm sure everybody is a little tired of the project on Route 59. That will be one more year, but that's a massive project, of course. And Naperville was way out front with that, doing some preliminary engineering and planning before the state even began it. It'll be a diverging diamond, and if you haven't seen that, you should look that up on Wikipedia because it's really interesting to see how that new innovative configuration will work. And in addition, we are going to implement the centralized traffic management system, and in the CIP, you'll hear that it will synchronize and coordinate traffic signal operations and provide a platform for future real-time congestion and mapping. A number of other entities use this system, including City of Aurora, IDOT, DuPage County. And we look forward to implementing that and similar processes on other north-south routes like Naper Boulevard and routes that sometimes go east-west and sometimes go north-south like Ogden. And also, although this is an east-west project, we also have implemented the 95th Street Bridge. One I wasn't too crazy about to start with, but people in the south end seem to like it.
John Coletti.
Along with improving the timing of lights, looking into where we can add additional right turn lanes to possibly facilitate traffic might be a way to improve the congestion. One thing that I've seen and heard complaints about are downtown employees not taking advantage of the parking garages. For $5, they're allowed to park the entire year in the parking garage. I've seen studies of parking in shopping districts where it says up to 30% of the traffic flow is generated by people looking for a parking space. If we can get the downtown merchants to cooperate with us a little bit more and get their employees in those parking garages, that'll free up spots, that'll keep people from circling around Washington Boulevard and Main Street. That can only help us. I'm not in favor of eliminating parking on Washington Street in non-rush hour times because I like the ambiance there. I don't want us to have fast traffic going through there in non-rush hour times. I think the city should also look at the feasibility of improving traffic flow out of the metro lots. Coming home and getting off the train and then having to spend an inordinate amount of time getting out of that and getting onto Washington Boulevard or Route 59 or Ogden is difficult. If we can improve that, I think that would help. I'm also not in favor at the current time of retrofitting the Chicago Avenue parking lot, which is going to cost us $30 million and add to the parking and congestion in downtown.
Kevin Coyne?
Thank you. Traffic's clearly our city's Achilles heel. I think it's the biggest weakness our city has, maybe our only weakness. And I think there are some things we can do to mitigate the issue. I think our PACE buses could be better promoted. I think they are currently underutilized. I'm always in favor of looking at sidewalk, bike paths, bike rack options. Anything that can provide an option other than driving your car should be explored. And John brought up parking on Washington. I'd like us to better manage street side parking on Washington. I think that contributes greatly to our morning congestion issues. I know a number of years ago that exploring eliminating parking on Washington and was explored with downtown businesses and met with stiff resistance. I'd like to explore that again and find out if there's some way of better managing how people park on that street, particularly during rush times. We simply have to give great weight to traffic and congestion on every issue we face and deal with as councilmen, clearly on development issues in particular. We need to listen to our residents, and on every issue, keep the effects on parking and congestion top of mind. That's what I'll do as a councilman. Thank you.
Bill Egan?
Thank you. I go up Naper Boulevard North to get to work, so we definitely got to fix that one. That's important. I'm certainly no traffic expert. I'm an accountant, right? I certainly could bring some skill set from a project management standpoint, but at the end of the day, we have to rely heavily on staff and any of the citizens that would have some expertise in there. I do believe that finding a way to time lights and getting them to work together works. I've been out in the Quad Cities. I've seen it work. It forces you to stay at the speed limit to get through the lights, not that I speed at all.
Dick
Hey.
Furstenau?
Thank you. Some of these traffic situations take a long time to solve. I want to relate a little story to you. When I was first elected to the council, we put a big deal together and we all went down to Springfield and we all had a big dinner with every senator and every representative that was within 50 miles of our town. And Chris Lawson, now this was the year 2000, Chris Lawson handed me, because I happened to be sitting right next to him at the meal, a $200,000 check to start the engineering on Route 59. That was in the year 2000. It's finally being built in the year 2015. So that's the length of time that it takes some of these things to happen. And the city council never gave up on that road, even when the state would not include it in their budget for years. We didn't quit at them. If it finally got in there and it finally is getting built. And that has contributed, by the way, to some of the north-south problems that we're having along River Road and whatnot right now. There are other things. I think this light timing is some issue that needs to be looked at. I don't think it needs to be looked at $1 million here and $1 million there. They were timing lights long before we ended up with $1 million systems to do it. I think we need a couple of good engineers and some good people who are dedicated to do that, and it's a whole lot cheaper than $1 million a crack. Thanks.
Paul Hinterlong?
Well, before I was on council, I had the opportunity, I was a member of the Washington Street Corridor Study Group that took a look at Washington Street from one end to the other, north to south, and came up with what you're seeing today that we're continually addressing, and that's aesthetics and flow, and we've taken a few parking spots off here and there to help with that, and that's ongoing, and it always will be, especially when Water Street comes along, Aurora and Washington will be taking a look at, and those improvements will come in. So I mean, it takes steps, like Dick said. Traffic is a regional problem. There isn't a town with great traffic. It's just not the Chicagoland area's thing. But what we have to continue to do is work with the state and the county officials and work together and come up with solutions. Dick's right. When I ran 6 years ago, 59 was just getting its capital bill funding, and now we're finally just broke ground this past year. That'll be a great amenity, great success when that is completed, just like 75th and Washington and like he said on Naperville Boulevard, maybe Naperville Boulevard and 75th will be coming down the road too. So I know the county wants to expand on 75th Street. But we also, the biggest thing is with commuters is getting our bus system moving and taking care of that.
Stephen Brodusky.
Now, I have to credit Becca Obarski for this one, but in a recent forum I was in with her, she pointed out that if you look at traffic, it's kind of it's a negative, but it's also a positive. If we didn't have some place where people wanted to be, we wouldn't have a lot of traffic on our streets. And so in that respect, it's actually, in a sense, a good thing. That being said, there are a lot of things that we can and need to do. I'm looking forward to reviewing the smart traffic light system. That is the sort of thing that can help traffic flow smoother through town. We really need to promote more bicycle and pedestrian traffic as well. And we do have a bicycle plan, but in my opinion, it's incomplete. There are areas of the city that are isolated from the rest of the city. Just talk to anybody that lives north of Ogden Avenue. I know Dick does, and others over here. And it's hard to get around. If we could promote more movement and transportation like that, we would be much better off. And then we really need to focus primarily on traffic in the downtown area, how to get more people out of, or more traffic out of there, possibly with people movers, bus systems, or perimeter parking, those sorts of projects. But let's look at it again as an overall program, not one-off projects to address small issues.
Okay, now we want to have a question to get to know a little bit more about you. You'll have 2 minutes to answer this question. Give us an example of a substantial mistake you've made and what you did as a result of it and how you corrected it. Judith Broadhead.
Yes, the perennial interview question that nobody wants to answer. I think that when I don't know if it's substantial, but I think I have corrected it. I think when I first joined the City Council, I held back a little too much during the early stages of discussion, and therefore I often found that an issue was coming to a vote before I had had a chance to make a comment, or my comment was kind of late in the game, or I really didn't have a chance to make a motion myself. Many of the issues that we discuss are pretty highly charged, and we actually are sitting in a horseshoe, not around a table. We can't really see one another all that well, so we can't really read expressions as well as you might like. But my natural tendency is to be careful and deliberative and to ask a lot of questions, not to necessarily jump right in. So my learning curve was to realize that I should become part of the discussion and perhaps learn to make a motion a little bit earlier in the game.
John Coletti.
Hello. Substantial error that I made. I'm going to go back to when I was a trader at the Chicago Board Options Exchange. It was early on in my career. It was 1987. I didn't expect the Dow Jones Industrial Average to drop 500 points or 22% in a day. I didn't have my portfolio hedged appropriately. It was a tumultuous week, and some decisive action and a lot of luck got me through that week and kept me in business. All right. How did I correct for that situation? Going forward, a few years later, a new business partner and I formed a company, and one of the things that we did is we developed an in-house, real-time risk management and trading system so that we knew every moment of the day what our positions were doing, what our employees who were traders in other pits, how their positions were reacting to market conditions, and we were able to control it. And for 20 years, we ran a business that never had a week like that again, even though there were plenty of market upsets during our tenure. I think using the available technology and being prepared is something that's important, and I hope that will lend itself to my endeavor here. Since pulling a packet and putting my name on the list, I've been going to every council meeting and trying to learn as much as I can so that I will not have a major learning curve when I step onto council if I'm so chosen. Thank you.
Kevin Coyne.
Great, thank you. A big decision that I think I blew was my decision to move to Chicago for law school. I grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and then subsequently went to the University of Iowa for college, and thought moving to the city of Chicago would be a very exciting change, and for 2 or 3 weeks it was, but I grew very tired of it fairly quickly. I think the first time I had to wait outside in the Arctic weather for that 151 bus, which I still cannot look at, I knew that this was a decision I wish I could pull back and rein in. And I resolved that decision through my interviewing with firms. I found an old Naperville firm, Nadelhofer, Kuhn, Mitchell, Moss, which I found during my third year of law school. I came out and found the city that I think I was calling Naperville at the time. Got off the train, walked around the downtown, and was in love with the city from first instant. The Riverwalk, the people I met, the great businesses. It's been the best decision that I've ever made, and remedied my Chicago decision fairly quickly, and I couldn't be more honored to serve it as a city councilman. Thank you.
Bill Egan.
Since my wife's not here, I can probably get away without saying I don't make mistakes, but
I doubt that.
Well, the heart of the question, it comes down to root cause analysis and process, right? So anytime that I've made a mistake, there's been a process failure. We either didn't have process set up, or we didn't follow the process that we did set up. So I don't know if the word substantial plays into this, but most recently at work, one of my employees interviewed for another position, has been selected for it. Thought HR would realize that we were putting in a new accounting system, and then from my normal course in corporate, the hiring manager always called the manager that was going to be involved, and they worked out times. And I was sitting in a meeting and found out my employee had a job offer and was going to be leaving me in 2 weeks. So I had to say, no, I have a system that's being stood up, and she's critical to this process. So she's now waited 3 months. She's getting ready to move on. The learning there is don't make an assumption, right? I assume the way the process should be flowing. So we've had that discussion, and now everything's flowing in that manner. But unfortunately, the employee got caught in I don't want to say harm's way, but they were looking forward to moving on to a new job in 2 weeks, and now they've had to wait 3 months. But making sure that we come back and explain it and having the right decision at hand and doing that root cause analysis, we've now put in an appropriate process.
Dick Furstenau.
Thank you. And by the way, John, I remember the day it dropped 500 points too. So, and I remember the week. But let me just tell you, over my lifespan here, working for AT&T and running a couple of large factories, I've made some doozy mistakes in the employment of with AT&T in the past. When you got thousands of people running around in a factory and you do something that's not right, it adds up real fast and you learn about it. But I don't want to talk to you about any of those. We eventually corrected all those, by the way, but it took some time. But here's another one that relates to the city council that I can remember like it was last week. A number of years ago, I was a new councilman, and you know what we were doing? We were building this Van Buren deck over here. And that deck happened to be the biggest argument that ever hit this town in a number of years. And one of the discussion items on that was, how high are we going to build this deck? 4 stories or 5 stories? Well, I was in the camp at the time that said we were going to build it 4 stories, and we prevailed. It was going to be 4 stories. There were 5 votes to 4. It was going to be 4 stories. And nobody came and started beating on me. Nobody said anything, but you all know you have to be on the positive winning side to make a motion to reconsider. I went home that week and took a look at that and came down here and looked at that spot over there about 100 times. And finally, I went back to the next council meeting and I made a motion to recall that, and I voted for 5 levels on that deck. And that's how we got 5 levels on the deck. And the other 4 people who were had voted for 4 with me were livid. But I made that decision. I was a very young councilman. Hadn't been there but maybe 6 months. I don't know. It wasn't very long. So that was that was probably the thing that rings out to me more than anything else. Thank you.
Paul Hinterlaw?
Well, something I learned early as a councilman was to listen to both sides of every development, every argument, anything that comes across to you. Because I'll tell you that the biggest thing is, when a development comes forward to you, first thing you'll get, is them wanting to meet with you. So, of course, they bring their lawyers, they bring the developer, and they completely sugarcoat their development. And I just remember, yeah, that sounds great. I'll vote for it in a heartbeat, Well, sure enough, city council comes along, the meeting, and you got 20 residents out there with reasons why not to vote for it. And then you hear their side and you go, oh man, now what do I do? And, you feel bad, but sometimes, sometimes you'll be right on those, sometimes you'll be wrong. And it's very easy to jump out ahead and say one thing, and then you hear the other side and it's completely different, and you go, well, I got to change my mind now, and you feel bad because you already promised a yes vote to this developer and attorney representing them, and my word means a lot to me. When I tell somebody something, I mean it, and I stick to it. But I will tell you, for any of you up here, there's a few of us up here, Dick and Judy know it, you can get in a pinch real easy, and for those that are up here that may end up on council, the biggest solution is to listen to both sides before you make any decisions, and that's something it's hard to live by, but you have to keep in mind each and every development that comes through, or each and every issue that comes before you. So listen and make your decisions accordingly. But Don Worley told me when I first got elected, you're up there to listen, not to talk. So I've always kept that in mind. Thank you.
Stephen Produsky?
35 years ago, when I was a young new engineer out of University of Michigan, working for Bell Labs, I had gravitated to being the lead engineer on a major subsystem for telephone switching systems, and I was really proud of my system. And there are these 2 engineers in the 1A ESS group, that Dave Yost and Jeff Martin, and I was convinced that their job was specifically to prevent my project from ever seeing the light of day. And so we were always at odds with them, and it got to the point where I started shutting them out. And then one day in a meeting, I started listening to what they were saying, and among all of the static and all the chafe, I realized that they had given me some great ideas. And it was a light bulb went on for me right there, and that was, no matter how painful it is, no matter how much you think someone's opposed to you, I really had to learn to listen to their side of the story and sift through it, because I'll find gems there. And that's, ever since, that's followed me for the last 35 years and been an important part of my life.
Okay, our next question. I'm going to sit for this one. You have 2 minutes to answer this one. What will be your top 3 priorities when you are elected, and what steps would you take upon being elected? Judith Broadhead?
Yeah, actually, I have a different, that's not the question.
That's not my question.
The question is about
Community service.
community service.
It's a trick question.
Number 6. Top 3 priorities.
It's a little out of order, I guess. Winter? Where are you? Do you have a priority question?
Oh,
Do you want us to
know
do
what?
that one?
I didn't even get that question.
Oh, I'm begging your pardon.
Completely different question.
Well,
All right,
well, let's skip then to the community service question.
we'll do the community service.
You'll have a minute and a half to answer this one, so I'm taking away 30 seconds.
Okay.
What community service projects have you spearheaded, and why did you lead those service projects or events?
Okay, so I've been involved in community service in Naperville since the late 1980s, almost as long as I've been in the city. And I found that the path that was right for me was connected to local government. And I started as a president and vice president and president of a homeowners association and represented that group at plan commission meetings and at the larger group, the Homeowners Confederation. Then I joined the various boards and commissions that the mayors appointed me to, TAB and then Plan and then ZBA. Then I also worked with the League of Women Voters for several years on a number of projects, including planning the State of the Community dinners and public programs on current events and local candidate forums. And I suppose what I'm most proud of, though, and I know I've mentioned this probably in other forums, is that I presided over the the Southwest Sector Plan. It's one of many master plans that I worked on while I was on Plan Commission, and that involved many months of hearings and deliberations with all kinds of stakeholders, from the Conservation Foundation to homeowners to school districts to developers and staff. And it took a very long time, and it is something we're still working on now.
Okay, John Coletti.
Hello. The community project that I spearheaded in Naperville goes back again to my coaching. After my sons left Little League and Naperville Baseball Association and moved on to high school sports, I was asked to come back and serve in Naperville Little League as a player agent, and then eventually asked to put my name in the hat to run for the board, and was elected to the board. On Naperville Little League's board, they decided to appoint me safety officer, okay, which was something that was new to me. So I grabbed the old manuals and went through them, and they had a pretty good program in place, but there were things that I thought can be improved. So I got on the phone and called National Little League headquarters, talked to a few people there, and came back to the board. And without too much hesitation, several of the other board members jumped on the bandwagon with me. We went through the entire manual. We improved the processes. We partnered with the police department to make sure that every adult volunteer was background checked so that provide as safe of a environment for all the children that were participating as we could. We implemented other procedures, brought in a certified trainer to talk with all the coaches on proper exercise prior to playing and practicing, and it thoroughly improved what was already a good program. Thank you.
Kevin Coyne.
Thank you. I got my start in the community through the Naperville JCs. My wife and I met my wife through the Naperville JCs, have both been very active in it for going on 14 years. It's about to end because I'm getting too old. I see some of you I've worked with over the years through it, and ran a number of different events, the Mardi Gras, Santa Train. Most notably, I ran the Naperville Last Fling in 2006. And I ran it for the same reason I'm running for city council. I felt I could serve, I felt my service was needed, and I was confident that I could do a good job. And the event was very successful. It blew out every record we ever had financially. Some of those records still stand today, almost 10 years later. These large summer events are enormous personal undertakings. It's a large burden to be responsible for this huge party that's going to bring in 100,000 people, most of whom may be strangers to your town, and be responsible for their safety and to make sure they have a good time and to make sure that nothing is done that would look poorly on a city of the caliber of Naperville. So it was a huge undertaking. It was a tremendous leadership development opportunity. I made tons of relationships that stand today, and it was something it was an amazing experience that I'm very proud of. Thank you.
Bill Egan.
The most recent and the largest not-for-profit event I've run is the Last Fling. I ran that in 2013. I'll never forget the night that I got the call that I got the job. My wife was sitting next to me, and she overheard on the phone that I was going to get the executive director. She looked at me, she goes, "Did you apply for that?" I said, "Oops." I do a lot. I'm involved with Rotary, involved with the JCs, my homeowners association. There's a debt that can never be repaid, and you attempt to pay it back through not-for-profits. As I grew up on the south side, the things that I'm able to do now, I could only dream about as a kid. And to be able to pay that forward and to bring my daughter to charitable events and let her see some of these great people in our community and give that spirit within her, that's the main reason why I do it.
Dick Furstenau?
Just a couple of things quickly. I coached baseball and football for 17 years apiece in town, and I also was on the 17 years with junior achievement in football and 12 years with baseball. I had 4 sons, and I coached them all the way from the time they were 7 years old until they walked into high school on those couple of sports. Plus junior achievement, I started when I was like 24 years old and a new hire at AT&T in Salt Lake City, Utah. So I've been dealing with kids for a long time. Then when I was elected councilman, this thing came along. Edward Hospital had worked with this Kids Matter thing, and they were trying to get out of being the sponsor for that. And so they had a 2 or 3 day symposium where a number of us went. The only councilmen that were there was myself and John Rosanova. And this was the year 2000, or either 1999 or the year 2000, because I was a brand new councilman. And so we went through this thing for 3 days at a local spot here. And then they wanted to, they were looking for board members. Well, I raised my hand. I became a board member of Kids Matter in the days when it was struggling to get along, okay? And I was a board member there until the day I left the city council in 2011. And I helped that association survive. It was a battle with the city council for the first 5 or 6 years, even to get a nickel to help out. Edward Hospital would jump back in and help out on occasion. And finally, the council, after much prodding and whatnot, decided to start helping out. And I was very proud of that. And I might even serve there again if they would want me. Thank you.
Paul Hinterlong?
A few things I spearheaded and are very proud of. Even before I was a councilman, the Park District got in touch with me to ask me if I could help spearhead a skateboard park down at Centennial Park because no one else wanted it around town or in their backyard. And as the Homeowners Association president at that time, I got a few people involved from the neighborhood. Jean Worley, Mary Lou Worley's mother, was on the board as well. We designed that skate park down there by the beach, and it's been very successful. It hasn't brought the things that people thought it would bring with it, so that it turned out to be very successful, and it's still very successful to this day. Tragedy to Triumph. I was the chairman of Tragedy to Triumph. That is the memorial statue we have up by the train station where 45 people died in 1946, many of them whom were veterans coming home from the war. Many people in Naperville don't even know that even happened in our history. And so Chuck Spinner, that wrote a book about it, got in touch with me and said, hey, can we do something up at the train station to form a memorial for these people? And that's how that came about. Another thing I'm proud of is helping our seniors. We've just recently got a senior committee together. I've been working with the seniors for 6 years since I've been on. And recently, Councilman Chirico and Wentz helped me in that effort, and we got a committee together, and it's going well. Thank you.
Stephen Podolsky?
Well, first of all, I live in a neighborhood that's bounded by Mill Street, Washington, Ogden, and the train tracks, and we tend to get ignored and forgotten about. So several years ago, I formed a neighborhood association, organized all of my neighbors, started sponsoring the night out celebrations, and in the course of it, I stood up for my neighborhood in front of city council and planning commissions on a number of occasions. And the most important one, and the one I'm proudest of, is the fence that we achieved being built along Washington underneath the railroad tracks, which protected our kids walking to Washington school and also protects the commuters walking that way. I'm also also very active in Boy Scouts of America as an assistant scoutmaster and as a unit commissioner. And I am active in the Friends of Scouting campaign, particularly the community Friends of Scouting. If any of you out there are business owners, we'll be talking to you to see about you supporting the Scouts as well. But it's all focused around training our youth, as well as being a catechist at St. Thomas and working with youth to keep them on the right track.
All right, well, it's been a good evening, a lot of good answers and insights. We have one final question, and you'll have 2 minutes to answer this one. Why should we vote for you? Judith Broadhead.
Okay. This year, we have a really strong group of candidates, including 4 incumbents and 15 additional hopefuls vying for 8 seats. No matter who is elected, there'll be 4 rookies on the council that is losing members with at least 8 years of experience. Although it's always healthy and refreshing to welcome new faces, this will be a huge change for one election cycle. My experience as a consensus builder and voice of reason will be a great advantage in helping a new mayor and council make that transition.
John Coletti.
Hello. I'm asking people to consider casting a vote for me because I'll accept the position very seriously. I'll put Naperville first when making decisions and setting policy with my colleagues if afforded the opportunity. I'll be your check and balance to the city staff, and I'll also be a person that you'll be able to talk to, and I'll listen to what concerns you have. I have the time and energy that's required to successfully fulfill the obligations of this office. The community needs people that can understand the financial impacts of decisions, and my background demonstrates that I'm one of the people qualified to look out for your interests. Thank you for your consideration.
Kevin Coyne.
Thank you. I think people should vote for me because I'm ready and qualified to do the job, to serve as a councilman. Naperville's a huge city. We have over a $400 million budget, and we have some challenges. We're located in a state that, it's no secret, has any number of problems tied to its state of its finances, partisanship, just dysfunctional overall. We need to have people that are ready to step in and get to work and know what they're doing and know how the city operates on day one and aren't going to have a big learning curve. And I think I offer that to the voters out there. I've served successfully for 8 years on city commissions, currently the last 4 again on the Naperville Plan Commission. I've also successfully served in a number of different areas in the not-for-profit community, which is such a huge part of our community, as you all know. And I bring sophisticated business and legal expertise, so I can deal with staff on these complex issues that we're going to have to contend with now and moving forward. I'm a known, proven candidate. The not-for-profit community should know that I'll continue to be a huge supporter of their endeavors, and I appreciate the fact that the not-for-profit community has played a huge role to the success of Naperville in the past, present, and it will continue to play a huge role in the future. I've been blessed. My campaign has garnered a lot of support. We're off to a very good start to the cycle, and I'm ready to get to work for you guys, and I hope to have your support, your vote in April. Again, Kevin Coyne, look for me the #1 on the ballot. Thanks.
Bill Egan.
Thank you. I think in my opening statement, I covered the unique perspective, but I think that's very, very valuable and worth repeating here. The accounting background, the fact that I've worked in a plant in this city, the fact that I sit as a staff member, more importantly, it's the vision, keeping the long-term vision. What we have here today is due to people thinking 20 years ago, looking down the road, what can we do here? Why do we have most of our power lines buried? Why do we have all those things? People took the time to think, let me think down 20 years down the road. And for me, that's where I keep my eye. We might have some pain today, but how can we get to the best tomorrow? So I think bringing that vision along with all my other expertise and experiences really makes me somebody worth having up on that dais, and hopefully being able to get 3, 4, 5 other people with me to bang that drum and saying this is the way we need to go and get the rest of everybody to come along and understand that vision. Thank you.
Dick Furstenau.
Thank you, and thanks for holding this forum tonight. It's been very helpful, and I'm sure it'll be informational for the people who are able to watch it on the TV and the folks here in the audience. Let me just say that I bring a wealth of knowledge about this city to the city council. 12 years of never missing a meeting, never missing a vote, and never coming unprepared to a meeting. I always went through the entire packet. I knew the questions to ask, I had them set up, and I asked them in advance, and if things came up in the meeting, I continually asked the questions. And I think one of the things that you have to look at a councilman when he takes a look and is going to support you and spend $440 million of your money is how involved is he, how much of the detail does he get into, and does he really spend the time looking at how you're spending the money and where you're spending the money on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis versus a couple of meetings a year when they have a budget meeting. I've got news for you. I did that all the time, and I will continue to do that for the taxpayers because that's why I'm here. I'll tell you this also, I will never take a vote and raise my hand to raise your property tax on your business or your home. We'll find some other way to solve the problem. We'll either make a cut, which I would do first, and then I would look someplace else, but I will never raise your property taxes. Quite a while ago when I was first elected to the council, a young reporter came to me and started asking questions, and then he wrote a story about me. It was very nice, very nice. But he left with a statement that I printed on the back of every one of my business cards from the city, and the statement goes like this. This is what he quoted that I told him that day. Taxpayers should be treated like customers. The services of the city should be timely, cost-effective, and delivered with a smile. And that's the way I did it then, and that's the way I'll do it if you will elect me one more time. My webpage is firstfornaperville.com. Have a great day. Thank you, Bell.
Paul Hinterlong.
Well, thank you, Rotary, for putting this on tonight, and thank everyone for coming tonight out in the cold. Naperville has been a home of my family for 8 generations. I am proud of the quality of life we have here in Naperville and want to ensure that it continues for your family. I'm ready to serve as your councilman and help guide our community through the complex and diverse challenges of our time. I pride myself as a councilman with experience, integrity, passion, and being accessible. I will continue to be fiscally responsible with your tax dollars while maintaining a high level of service that you expect. In the last 4 years, we have lowered the city portion of your tax bill while maintaining a AAA bond rating from Moody's and Standard & Poor's. Our last citizen survey results showed that 91% overall satisfaction rating for the quality of life here in Naperville. If re-elected, I pledge to continue to strive for greater excellence moving forward and will work every day to make Naperville even a better place to live. I'm Paul Hinterlong. I'm number 9 on the ballot. I ask for your vote on April 7th. My website is votehinterlong.com. And thank you all for attending tonight's forum. And thank you again, Rotary. Great job.
Stephen Produsky.
Yes, thank all of you in the audience for coming out to listen. It's important that we have this interest in who we're going to vote for. But I think that people should vote for qualifications, the people that have the qualifications that they are needed for the time. In the 2014-15 budget, in the strategic plan, under weaknesses, it says lack of investment in technology, slow to adopt new technologies, and the opportunities for Naperville are the use of technologies for communications and conducting business and emergency management. My background is technology. I have my academic background is BS in electrical engineering from the University of Kansas, an MSc in computer engineering from the University of Michigan, and an MBA in technology management from Illinois Institute of Technology. My business background, I've worked for 2 major corporations, for AT&T, Bell Laboratories in management and as an engineer, and for R. Donnelly & Sons, where I was vice president, a corporate officer level of technology, and I instituted and directed process improvement projects that resulted in tens of millions of dollars in bottom line savings to Donnelly without causing any layoffs or any other issues other than money to the bottom line. With my community experience working with youth, with at St. Thomas, with the Scouts, and with my Pilgrim Edition Homeowners Association experience, I have all the background that's necessary and will be the person to lead the technology charge for the Naperville City Council.
Okay, I want to thank all the candidates for participating tonight in the first forum sponsored by the Rotary Club of Naperville. This has been a very interesting evening, exciting times for our city, and we hope everyone watching will take this information provided by the candidates and evaluate who their choices will be in the April 7th election. If you want more background and additional information on the candidates, you can go to positivelynaperville.com and click on their election and voters guide links. In addition, you can also find more information on each candidate's websites. You will also be able to view this forum in its entirety on YouTube, and it will be available in the next few days. And as we finish up tonight, the Rotary Club of Naperville would like to thank a few people. The Judd Kendall VFW Post 3873 in Naperville for the use of this facility and their wonderful hospitality. In fact, we have the room until 8:30, so you can stick around and talk and ask the candidates some personal questions. We also want to thank Glenn Lilgedberg and Frank Trout for being our videographers, as well as setting up the live streaming of this event on the internet. Rachel, Sarah, you've told me that, and Catherine Hoffman for keeping the candidates in line. Ding, ding, ding. Liz Zienti and Atul Akhand for setting up the banners and the decorations. Nice job. Wendy Gross and Hunter Byington for producing this event for the Rotary Club of Naperville. And I would like to thank you all for joining us on this most American activity. And that's it. I'm Dolly McCarthy. Please join us tomorrow night and Tuesday night for another forum with new candidates on the council. We'll be asking the same questions. Thank you all so much. Have a good night.